The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description. That man is dangerous behind that Twitter phone. Like, we got to get him off of that account because he just says whatever. That goes into this story. So he on Saturday tweeted out that unbeknownst to everyone, and I'm paraphrasing, but unbeknownst to everyone, he was going to meet with the president of Afghanistan, as well as the leaders of the Taliban separately in Camp David. They were supposed to come to the United States that night, but basically he canceled the meeting because the Taliban admitted to a car bomb that went off on Thursday that detonated and killed 12 people, including a U.S. soldier. And I reported that to y'all last week. Now, the thing I don't get is, first off, why? Now this goes as they've there's been like 9 rounds of peace talks that I've been keeping y'all up to date with in Doha, Qatar, with the Taliban leaders that the Afghanistan government has not been a part of. But it's like, why announce that to the world? It just doesn't make sense. Green Warren Grad, the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube now. It's reports that have been 44 confirmed dead in the Bahamas, in the Baco and Grand Bahama Islands. You're talking about across those islands, 70,000 people have actually been left homeless, and there's still thousands of people missing. So the death toll, even though it's at 44, remember it started at 7, it's expected to exponentially rise from all of this being from Hurricane Dorian's devastation, which didn't really do too much in the U.S., but out there it got crazy, right? So keep this in mind as 1,500 Bahamians were actually brought to a Florida port on Saturday. But on Sunday, there were 100 people that were actually turned away. Basically, it said that they were told that they needed to have their visas before they boarded, but then were turned away at the last minute. And you're talking about people having their kids, you know, coming all the way from the devastated Bahamas all the way to the Florida ports, and you're told, no, you can't go in. So, you know, shit is crucial out here. Green War on graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. It's rhetoric, even just on Twitter, when it doesn't even have to be like when he doesn't have to answer to anybody or whatever. This actually has fostered this hate towards immigrants that I think our Homeland Security, our government agents are taking part in and falling for, because in this story in particular, you have an ICE agent in Antioch, Tennessee, that actually pulled over a white truck. There's a 39-year-old Mexican man, and the man attempted to flee. And then there's this, and you know, local news is actually showing this, where they're showing this video that's showing the ICE agent actually raising his gun and to shoot at the driver, which he did, and apparently shot him twice. So the man still was able to flee, apparently, but he later turned himself in to FBI agents, and then he hasn't been arrested or charged yet, but he had to, you know, go to the hospital, of course. So we'll see how this turns out, though. Green War and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition too, yo. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. The man is a menace out here, and from behind that Twitter platform where he don't have to be accountable for anything that he fucking says, yo. Get that man the fuck off of there, yo, and sign my petition. You can find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description of you're watching this video on YouTube. Now, check this out. So with Donald Trump has set this wave of hate towards migrants or whatever, and of course that carries on to migrant children. Well, the Huffington Post actually reported that there are 3 separate cases of migrant children in 3 separate jails that are being denied legal aid, which is a violation of federal law. Now, compound that, and you know what I mean, this actually sets up children to be more likely to get deported, as they have to like deal with like some very complex legal proceedings or whatever. And then keep this in mind as the lawsuit that was filed last week against the Trump administration for them violating the Flores Agreement, which basically is something that says that migrant children can't be detained for more than 21 days or whatever. It turned out among many violations, one of them is the girls are being denied like menstrual aid and being told to sit in their clothes while they on their period days at a time. Like crazy shit, man. Not even allowed to wash and all of that. Yo, Green War on graduation. They fuck. This report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching me on YouTube. Now check this out. The Remain in Mexico policy is in full effect. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about it's been responsible for keeping tens of thousands of asylum seekers in Mexico while they await their the immigration hearings that's supposed to take place to decide whether they can stay in the United States or not. One person that's fallen victim to this is this El Salvadoran woman who was recently just sent to Mexico, where she is 8.5 months pregnant, and this goes even after she received treatment or was in the U.S. hospital for her contractions. They still put her in Mexico, where it's known that the asylum seekers are being detained and not really given adequate medical care, and in some cases don't even have sufficient food and water. So, you know, that just is another highlight of the inhumane treatment of this whole immigration process in the United States. Greenmore and Graduation. New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the NOAA, actually warning of the second highest warming of marine warming event that's ever taken place since they started recording in 1981. It only rivals the blob of 2014. So let me explain what the fuck I'm talking about, right? So the northeastern Pacific Ocean is actually warming it's at 5 degrees higher than the average that is supposed to be around this year. So people are obviously, like, 5 degrees is a lot when you're talking about averages, especially for a whole area as broad as the northeastern Pacific Ocean. So it's considered an event that can actually destroy fish populations, or, like, you know what I mean, definitely cut it down by a lot, and affect endangered species like orca or humpback whales, even her sea lions, over the increase of algae that's expected to happen. Greenmore and Graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. On Friday, actually, over in Gaza, that's the area that's near Israel and Palestine and Palestinian territories. There were actually 2 teenagers that were killed and 70 people that were wounded, 70 Palestinians that were wounded, half of them by Israeli gunfire. The actual 2 teenagers that were killed were Palestinian, and they were murdered by Israeli forces. So there's a lot of mourning going on over that. But this marks like 18 months pretty much since the Great March of Return has began, where Palestinians have been marching towards this and protesting at the Gaza in this calling for a right to return to their area, these Israeli occupied territories, and they're actually calling for an end to their blockade or the prevention of these Palestinians from coming back. So let's see how this pans out. Of course, there's been a lot of inhumane treatment going on. Greenmore and Graduation. New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. This is fucked up, yo. 21-year-old Evelyn Hernandez is actually facing a 3rd trial. So this is in El Salvador, actually. So it's not in the U.S., but in El Salvador, where abortion is considered illegal under any circumstances, this woman who was raped and ended up having a stillborn birth, basically, you know what I mean, and birth to a dead child or whatever, was charged with murder and aggravated assault, I believe, because of this, and it was and sentenced to 30 years. So then that conviction was annulled, but then they had brought it up again. Then last month she was acquitted, and then prosecutors had said that they were going to appeal. For what? I don't know, man. Them motherfuckers must be working for the devil himself. And, man, they're appealing, and now she's poised to face a 3rd trial. So, you know what I mean? Keep people like this in your prayers. This type of shit, you know what I mean? It will really fuck with justice everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Greenmore and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, Russia and Crimea, if you remember back in 2014, there was a lot of beef between the 2 nations over the annexation of Crimea, and since then there's been tensions. They've even been in what you would call a war, as it was described by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But as he also says, you know, they're taking the first steps towards actually ending the blockade of dialogue between the 2 nations, and they actually exchanged dozens of prisoners of war, as you could call them, over that basically had took place over these years. So these are people that never should have been in prison in the first place, like Oleg Sentsov, which is a Ukrainian filmmaker, and Amnesty International even spoke on that, saying, like, you know what I mean, people like him or whatever, these people should have never been, they're victims of politically motivated imprisonment. And you know, while it's good that people are being freed, it's a shame that they're even being used as human bargaining chips. You know, I'm paraphrasing it. Greenwald and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Change.org, link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, in Russia, actually, pro-Kremlin candidates actually took a loss this past Sunday in local elections. I mean, they retained their majority power, but it was just a notable losses. And keep this in mind, as over the summer there have been actually a bunch of protesting going on for these local elections, after a lot of politicians and whatnot have been barred from actually being able to participate in the process, especially in Moscow. And as a result, you have police even jailing thousands of people, protesters, whatever, jailing political candidates, including Alexei Navalny, who I reported on not too long ago, who was urging people to vote strategically and to limit the power of Kremlin. Nevertheless, in this past Sunday election, even though in Moscow, for example, the ruling United Russia Party, which backs Vladimir Putin, the president, they actually lost a third of their seats in Moscow. So all this shows is that if it wasn't for all of that resistance caused by the police and the armed forces, shit, they might have lost their power. Greenwald and Graduation. Although the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find Change.org, link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Some of y'all might be wondering, why does he want Donald Trump off Twitter, yo? Read the fucking petition before you go come on my page or come on any of my sites or any Black Fox News site or post and start hating, man. You know what I'm saying? Everything is laid out. It's irrefutable evidence why, including violating Twitter policy. Now, over in Colombia, though, switching the topic because we just about the news, you have Glebly Gomez and Aida Troches were actually two activists that were actually killed in the Cauca region, who were actually for indigenous women's rights. Now, this goes, as I told y'all earlier this month, how Karina Garcia, a mayoral candidate, was actually brutally murdered. She was just shot the fuck up. Her and like 4 other people were killed while they were actually on campaigning earlier this month in the Cauca region. And the human rights ombudsman over there in Colombia is warning that more than half the country is at risk of violence amidst these upcoming local elections. Greenwald and Graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find Change.org, link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, let me tell you something about the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. They actually cover appeals cases in Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, and they also have jurisdiction over cases that involving voting rights, civil rights, and the death penalty. So there's 12 judges. Now Trump, well, at the end of this story, Trump will, or when it's said and done, he will have voted or actually appointed 5 of the 12 judges that are sitting on this court. I'm telling you this because there's a judge last week that actually said that he's going to take senior status, and a judge last month that also said they're going to take senior status, which basically means that Trump can appoint their successors. Keep in mind that he's appointed 1 out of 4 since he's been in office or whatever, appointed 1 out of 4 of all the appeals court judges or whatever, 70% of these people being white men. Greenwald and Graduation.